What is a tax deed sale? In this video, you're going to learn exactly what is a tax deed sale and how it works, and most importantly, how you can take advantage of it. I'm going to show you how to get the list and what you need to know before you bid at the tax deed sale. And I'm going to reveal some hidden, not obvious things that you need to know before you ever bid, because this is completely different than buying a house through a real estate agent. I'm going to show you actual properties bought at tax sale, including a whole house that I bought for $4,000. That's an entire house, because that's the kind of amazing deals that can be there at tax sale, and you're going to learn about them today. And be sure to stay till the very end, because at the end, I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine who's put together a brand new process to buy properties at tax sale where there's no bidding, no competition. You just get properties for the taxes due. And it's this really big innovation in tax sales that you are going to love and that you definitely want to know about. At tax sale auctions, properties are sold because someone doesn't pay the real estate taxes. Typically, they're 3 to 4 years behind. Taxes go unpaid, property gets sold. Sometimes it's because the owner passed away and the family isn't around, or there is no family, so the house just sits there until it gets sold. That's something that happens. Sometimes people just get into deep financial trouble. Often they abandon the house and just leave. So all kinds of reasons, but the most important thing is that these houses are available to be sold. Generally, they're sold free and clear of any mortgages or any liens. So you get a property free and clear, and the bidding starts at the taxes that are owed. Typically, they're only 3 to 4 years behind. So even with interest and penalties, that's probably about 15% of the value of the property. So if we're talking about a $400,000 property, we're talking about a tax bill of around $60,000. And imagine if you could go to an auction and the bidding starts at $60,000 and the first person bid over $60,000 is going to get that house, assuming no one else bids. But anybody who bids over $60,000, I should say, is going to get that house when they're the last bidder standing. So houses go for great prices because the county isn't trying to get the maximum amount of value for the property. They're just trying to sell it for enough to get their taxes. So there can be amazing deals. Like the property I bought for $4,000 is at 711 Chain Street. You can see a picture of it. Looked pretty much like that when I bought it. Wasn't in terrible condition. You know, the only thing I had to deal with there were fleas, believe it or not. I walked in the house and just fleas bit my ankles up, and I had never seen fleas before. I'm like, what are those things? Oh, my foot itches. You know, this can be a business where you do get some flea-infested houses. So, you know, it's not for the weak of stomach. But anyway, with some flea bombs, pulled out the carpets, refinished the floors, repainted, and resold the house. Wasn't a terribly valuable house. I think we sold it for $65,000. But you know, you buy it for $4,000. We probably put $15,000 to $20,000 into it to fix it up. I don't remember the exact number, but you know, you put $15,000 or $20,000 in, sell it for $64,000. That is a good day at the office. So they're really amazing deals, and they're houses at all kinds of levels. You know, this house that you see in Crestor Valley, California, bought for $559,000 at the tax sale, resold a couple months later for $1.2 million. It's a small house. I have no idea what they put into it, but it couldn't have been that much. So obviously there can be some great, really profitable deals in there. And a third one, this is a piece of land that I bought. It's a little piece of land that was vacant at the time I bought it in a very nice neighborhood. That was actually the first deal I ever did way back many, many years ago. And get this, 1989, because I've been doing this for a long time. I was a young guy, bought the property for $3,000, flipped it, made $9,000. It was great for me. It was my first start in the real estate business. As a matter of fact, back then I'd gotten a mentor in real estate, and that paid for all the mentoring I ever had. So it was one deal, I paid for it all. It's really great. So anyway, back to you. First, how are you going to get these lists of properties to be sold? Because they're sold all the time all over the country. So what we're going to do is simple Google search. So pull up your friend Google, put in a search where it's just the county, the state, and the words tax sale list. So for example, I'll show you an example. I put in DeKalb County, Georgia tax sale list, and that takes me to the tax commissioner's website. Look around a little bit, you see a link like you see there on your screen. You click on the link, and that will pull up the list. And as you can see, the list shows the address of the property, the owner name, and it shows the taxes that are due. The taxes that are due is where they're going to start the auction off at. And the highest bidder after the taxes are due or paid is going to get that property. So as you can see, the lists are pretty big. And they are very big, but here's your first catch. First catch is that most of those properties are not actually going to be sold at the sale. And that's because people will, at the last minute, catch up on their taxes. They'll make a payment agreement, they'll borrow money from friends and family, they'll file a bankruptcy, they'll do something to stop from losing their house. But of course, everybody doesn't do that. Especially think in the situation where someone's deceased, they've been gone for many years, family's not around, no one's paying those taxes. So there'll be plenty of properties available. So I would say, just generally speaking, the list will go down by 80 to 90% by the time the auction happens. So if you had 100 properties, you're probably getting 10 to 20 actually to be sold at the auction, which is plenty because all you need is one really great deal and it can make all this worthwhile. So you get the list and you're going to get it 30 to 45 days prior to the sale. That's when they're published. So you get the list, get it early, and then do your first level of due diligence, which is simply going on Google Maps, go on Street View, which is when you pull that little person up so you can look around the street like you see me doing on your screen now. Look at the house and just ask yourself one question. Would I be interested in this house or not? And if the answer is yes, then keep it on your list. If the answer is no, just cross it off your list and go on to the next one. After you say yes to the house, then just rotate the little view around so that you can see the street and say, all right, is this street okay? Yes. Great. That's all you need to know for now. We're not deciding whether to buy the house from now. We're just deciding whether to eliminate it or not. So then go through all the properties in the list, cross off all the ones you're not interested in. That will leave you a subset of properties. Say, started with 100, maybe now you have 50. Then we're going to do nothing for the time being, except preparation for the auction. What we're going to be doing is a couple of things. Number one, check with the county on the rules of sale. You want to find out when is payment due. How is payment made? Is it ACH or do I need to bring a bank check or a cashier's check down? Am I going to wire funds in? How's that going to work? Do I have to do a deposit? There's often a pre-registration requirement. Often pre-registration closes a week or two prior to the sale, so get that done now. There's a form you'll need to fill in. Generally, anybody can go and bid. If you have problems with unpaid taxes of your own, or if you have problems with building code violations, you may not be able to bid. So just look through the rules of auction. They're very clear. They're not unclear. They tell you exactly what they are. Most people will be fine registering. Just do that in advance, because if you go down there the day of the sale and try to register and bid, they typically won't let you. So just make sure you check that out in advance. So meanwhile, you're waiting for the sale to come up. About 4 to 5 days prior to the sale, that's when we're going to start our next due diligence. There, what you're going to be doing is actually driving the properties. You want to go look at the properties, assess their condition as best you can. Take a look, is the roof straight and level or is it bowed? Are the windows twisted, like they're out of rack? If they are, that's a serious sign of a serious foundation problem. Probably skip that property unless you just want the land and you're going to tear down the property. Because if you see foundational problem things, just skip it. Again, look especially for doors and windows that are racked, meaning they don't look like a rectangle or a square. Instead, it's a trapezoid. Trapezoid's bad, because that means that there's a foundation problem. Look to make sure that there don't look like there are any holes in the roof. Sometimes these places have had fires, and firemen will axe through the roof and then pour water in there. Look, see if there's any smoke staining from under the eaves. See if it's boarded up, and go knock on the door and see if it's occupied or not, and learn what you can about the property. When you're walking up the walkway, look in the windows as best you can just to get an assessment of condition. Is the ceiling falling in? Because water problems, which that would be a sign of, can be as bad as a fire. So, really be serious. So, you're not going to get an interior tour unless you knock on the door and someone lets you in, because these auctions don't include interior tours or open houses or anything like that. It's just a forced tax sale. So knock on the door. If someone's there, talk to them. Maybe it's a tenant. You can find out what their story is. Maybe it's an owner. Find out what their story is. You need to be bold in this business. So go find out what you can. So as you learn about each property, if you see properties for sale, call the sign and say, how much is this property, so you get an idea of pricing. Anyway, your goal here is to assess condition as best you can, and also look and see what pricing is, and look to see if it's occupied or not. And so then you're going to get you'll further reduce your list, maybe go from 50 to 20 properties. Then a couple days in advance of the sale, pull the list again. The county will have updated the list and just eliminate everything that's not there. Then go to the auction and bid. Make sure that you bid within whatever you set your level at. If you're buying a house to fix and flip, generally you want to buy it for 60 to 70% of its after repaired value minus fix-up cost. Sometimes that's tough to do, but those are the right numbers for a flip. If it's a rental, just make sure it's going to cash flow, and just be there to bid. There can be some really great deals. Now, these bids are competitive. So I have a friend of mine who came up with this amazing system to buy properties where you don't have to go to the auction. You don't have to go running around. basically just got lists of available properties that you can buy for the taxes due. And then you just, at your own pace, you go look at properties, pick the ones you want, like Goldilocks, like that one's too big, that one's too small, and just pick out the ones that you love. And then you can just buy them for the taxes that are due. This is a really great innovation, really simplifies the whole process, and I think it's great. So I want to make sure you can learn about that. So I sat down with my friend who's the world-class expert in this. He invented this whole thing. I sat down with him and did about a 25-minute interview where he tells me all about it, shows properties that were bought. You definitely got to go check that out next. So if you see a link on your screen, just click on that. That'll be the next video you see, or look down below and there'll be a link in the description, because depending on your browser, you'll either see the link on the video or down below. Definitely go watch that, because this is buying properties at tax sale without the competition, without the running around, on your own time schedule. It's really a great way to do it. So go check that out. Of course, you want to buy at auction like I just taught you. That's great too. But make sure that you check both things out and fully inform yourself. So go watch my interview, and I'll see you over there.